What's good, my Regal Kings and Queens? Welcome to Zed Regal Mindset. Now, this is the place where the mindset, it always matters. It always matters. Now, this talk here is going to be about the road to self-mastery. Now, I've been working on my road to self-mastery my whole life, just like many of you watching right now have. Now, there's certain questions I asked myself to get to this place of self-mastery. Now, what is your dream life, first and foremost? What is your dream life? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever wrote it down so you can take it out of your head and see it on paper? You know what I mean? Are you currently living your dream life right now? And where are you on the road to achieving that? How close are you to achieving that? And also, are you the person that you need to be right now in order to achieve that goal? Are you fully equipped to be that person you see for your life and your ultimate dream life? These are questions I asked myself, and these are questions that you can ask yourself too. Now, my journey started from, well, it's been my whole life journey to be fair, but it started from when my Harley Street doctor told me that I would be in a wheelchair before the age of 40 as a result of being knocked over, multiple operations on my leg to resolve the initial break. This was crazy because 40 is still a young age, you understand? And it had me looking at people in wheelchairs and the quality of life that they were living. I would see people who were being pushed around daily, who'd seemed to have lost the will for life. And then on the flip side, I saw other people who were in a wheelchair, physical disability, worse than my case. And they were touring the world. They were living their dreams. They were doing public speaking. They were setting up, they had businesses that were running and organizing. They had teams around them. Now, there's two different levels of inspiration there. Now, for me, I didn't know who I wanted to be. My dream was I wanted to be a 100-meter, 200-meter runner. That obviously went out the window when my Harley Street doctor said I'll never be able to run again. You understand? So I come from South London. I was surrounded by toxicity. That was what basically raised me. People, situations, environments. So I had to learn and figure out who I was in different environments. Do you understand? Just like you, I'm sure wherever you are in your life, we all have our challenges that we have to go through to overstand who we are. Do you understand? Some people know what they want to be from their young. Others people don't. Once what I wanted to do was kind of literally kicked out the window, I had to figure out who I was. That meant I had to live and experience life, and I had to do it in a really compact way because I had a time limit on it. The age of 40. I didn't want to be in a wheelchair at 40, feeling sorry for myself, having to depend on people, not having something of my own that I could orchestrate, that I could run, that I could keep my mind and my brain active. Do you understand? I didn't want to be dependent on anybody. I needed to be independent, financially independent. I needed to have something to do, which meant I needed to learn as many skills and create as many possibilities within me as possible, which meant I had to go through life with an open mind. Do you get me? Just like yourself, some of us don't know what we want to do or what you want to do until you go through it. You get me? That was my journey. So right now, where I am today, I've done so much. I had no idea that the journey would lead me to where I am. I used to say I do music, media, and massage because there were so many different things within that I would do. And it just took me too much of a long breath to say everything. But since then, I've extended on that. I've become an NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist, a life coach, an author. I'm a healer. I'm a Reiki master. I do sports massage. I'm creative. I do so many different things. But had I not asked myself this question back in the day, I don't think I would be here where I am right now. in able to share with you my wisdom and knowledge to help you get from where you are to the next step of where you want to be. Do you understand? This is part of my purpose, and I didn't realize what my purpose was until I started walking the path. And that's, a tip. You have to take the first step in order to reach where your goal is. And maybe you don't even know what the goal is, but you just have to follow your gut feeling. If something draws you to something, follow that. See where it goes. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, maybe you love it, maybe that becomes your ultimate destination. Do you understand? So let's take one of mine, for example. I always knew that music was something that I really loved. It was just instilled in me from I was a young person. That was one of my things. So when I made the choice to deal with music on a serious level, I'd not long come out of prison and I needed to do something different. I had to change my life around because how I was living wasn't working. I'd outgrown it. I knew within me, I'd always known that within me, I was more than what I was living. I knew there was hidden gifts and abilities inside me, but I didn't know what they was. I just felt it. So when I was asking myself this question, who am I? That was one of the first questions I asked myself. Who am I? Thinking about it in my head, it was confusing. So I took it out of my head. I wrote it down on paper. Who am I? Do you know what I mean? What are my skills, gifts, qualities, and abilities? Do you know what I mean? I'm an empath. I'm giving. I'm nurturing. I'm loving. I'm great with music. I like to use my hands. All my gifts and abilities, I wrote it down. So I took it out of my head so I can see it on paper. It created more space in my mind so that I could move forward with the things that I saw. That's a great tool for you to use if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't know what you can achieve. Lots of people around us won't always tell us what they see in us and who we are, because sometimes it threatens them and they'd rather see you down, doing less than them, doing worse than them, than to see you rise up and become your highest possible version of yourself. You get me? These are just tools that you can use to overstand yourself. So music. I started in music. I came across a man whose name was Jim. He was a creative developer. When he saw me, he saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself, and he helped nurture that. He helped bring it out of me. And I'm so grateful for that, forever grateful, because if I didn't meet him, I wouldn't be in this place where I am now. And if I didn't ask myself these questions about what do I want, who I am, I wouldn't have triggered the universe to show me the signs and bring the people into my space to help me realize that. That's the power of manifestation. That's the power of intent. That is the power of trying to figure out what your life is about and what you're here for. You get me? So music was the one. I started by the last money I had, the bulk money I had, I ended up buying music equipment, studio equipment. I used to walk around the streets when I was a young man in London and making music out of my lips, beatboxing, and the rhythms were wicked. Trust me, they were skid down, go boom. But I didn't have a studio. I didn't have access to a studio. The people who had access to the studio wouldn't let me in the studio. So it was like, okay, when I got to this age of when I'm thinking about this, it was like, well, let's do it myself. Do you know what I mean? I had people around me who, Jim had his own studio, and I'd met other people who was doing that kind of stuff as well. So I had an idea of the stuff that I needed to get started. Do you get me? So I bought this studio, got people to show me the basics of how to do stuff to make, put instruments down, put sounds in, record it, bounce it down so that I could listen to it as an MP3 or a WAV file. That was the basics. Everything else, I had to learn it as I was going along, how to put effects on different things and make them sound and feel different ways. This was part of the journey to self-discovery. This was part of the journey to overstanding the gifts and abilities that lay within me that I didn't know was there waiting to come out. You know what I mean? Music was my savior. And I'm creating these crazy beats, all kinds of sounds, hip hop, reggae, R&B, soul, and it was just filling my soul with something new. It got me away from the life that I was living into a new life. I knew where the past life could take me, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, but I knew I was more than that. This new direction was taking me somewhere that I had no idea it was taking me, but it felt good. It felt right. So I had to make a decision to lock off the old life and pursue a new life. In doing that, it created a lot of different challenges, you know what I mean? Where in the old life, I may have had easy money. In the new life, it wasn't like that. It was a straight life. I had to lock that off. I had to be strict to this new direction. And I'm glad I did it, because the journey it took me along, I couldn't have mixed the two worlds. It wasn't about that. That old world was for the past. It was time to move on. And that's another valuable key that you can use for yourself. Sometimes you can't take the old you into the new version of you. You can't take your old life into the new version of life. It will trip you up. You see me? You need to be able to make that change to transition. You see it? So music was the journey. I ended up working with so many artists around me to start with. I was producing maybe 5 different artists, different sounds, hip hop, grime, dancehall, you know what I mean? A piece of everything. I ended up putting on events, you know, because not everybody will want to put on new artists, especially in the area I was. It was a case of, well, I'm making this music, I'm mixing this music, I've got these artists around me that I'm mixing and I'm helping develop, because I had a natural eye and ear for what sounded good, what was working. It was just naturally in me. It was coming out of me. As I'm doing this, people didn't like the fact that, who is this new guy? We don't know this Regal. Who's this guy? We know him to be this roadman, this, you know what I mean? The street mentality. What's going on? All of a sudden he's locked that off and he's teaching us this and he's showing us this. He's putting on events. He's for holy per bad mind, holy per envy, holy per negativity I faced, holy per people trying to sabotage my thing. But that comes with the game. When you're rising up and you're moving forward and you're bettering yourself, some people don't like to see you improve and better yourself. They want to see you down there. They want to see you doing worse off than they are. And that's just how the thing got. You see me? But I never let that hold me down. I never let it hold me back. In fact, I used it as fuel. The more they fought me, the stronger I would get. Do you understand? It helped me overstand people's motivations, the psychology of how people are towards me, which is the same thing you can do in your life. And I'm sure you've come across many people who try and fight you and try and keep you down. Use it as fuel. Turn the pain into power. Turn the pain into purpose. You see me? Don't rise to some of the negative things they try and say and try and do to draw you out and bring you back into your old version of yourself. Nah. Keep moving forward no matter what, because at some point they will see like, oh wow, rah, all the fight we was fighting him, it didn't stop him. He kept moving same way, and look where he is now and to where we are now and what we're doing. At the end of the day, all they'll be able to do is salute and say, you know what, the person persevered. He persevered. He went through. You know what I mean? Salute. You see me? So music was my thing. Now I'm a producer. I'm a writer. I ended up like songwriter. I write different types of music for all sounds of music. You know, I've done events. I've performed at events, like some of the biggest events in the UK, Glastonbury, Notting Hill Carnival. I've done all over the UK and club events and things like that, and I've put them on myself. You see me? I've done so many different things in music, and if you want to check more, then obviously check out my music site, zedregal.com, or check out my social, Zed Regal. You know what I mean? But that was part of my musical journey. And there's still more to come, because I've still got some crazy music to release real soon. You see me? But what I'm trying to say is, my story That's my purpose. My story is my power. My story is what qualifies me to help you to get from one place to another. My story is what helped me grow and reach a place of self-mastery. And if I can do it, you can do it. You know what I mean? If I can do it, you can do it. But you have to stay mindful. You have to stay focused. You have to stay purposeful. You have to keep a positive mindset. You have to be patient. Things that we want sometimes, especially if you're used to fast money, or you're used to getting things just like that, or you're spoiled and people give you stuff, you have to find patience. Things don't always happen when you want them, but if you keep putting in the work, keep having the faith and patience, you will achieve the things you need to achieve. And along the journey, you will learn the things you need to learn in order to become the person you need to become. If you want to have a multi-billion-pound business and you're still working at Tesco, for example, you ain't going to get there overnight. There are things you need to learn and understand and master before you are ready to run this multi-million-pound business. And that's where the mindset always matters. You know what I mean? Listen, if you want to know more, if you want to hear more, stay tuned in, stay locked in. Remember, the mindset, it always matters.